grab whatever food's left and a drink. My name's David. David Heck from CloudAmp. I'm the organizer of the meetup. Thank you all for coming. And thank you to CorSource and Birst for sponsoring. And to Rackspace for providing this space for us as always. Our first speaker is Cory Bray, who's the Regional Director of Business Intelligence for CorSource. He's going to be demoing Birst, it's a business intelligence platform.
All right.
So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Take it away.
All right, so the first thing, real important, I've got 4 $25 gift cards from the drawing. Let's take a vote. Shall one person win all of them, or shall we have 4 winners?
4 winners.
Okay, if you want one person to win all of them, raise your hand.
4 winners.
If you want 4 winners, raise your hand. All right, cool. Well, we don't have everybody's business card in here, so we'll go ahead and pass this around. And when I get to the end, we'll do that because I know that's probably the most exciting thing that I'm going to say today. So, now we can talk about business intelligence. All right, sounds good. So, I want to start just talking about some key takeaways. So, and I'm not going to, trust me, this isn't a PowerPoint presentation, but we're going to start with a couple of PowerPoint slides just to kind of get everything kicked off. So, the first thing is sales analytics can't stand on their own. There's a lot of other things that go on in an organization besides from sales analytics. So, we talk about who are our prospects, developing our prospect list, putting them into tools like Marketo and Eloqua. And then eventually, once they're turned into a lead, we'll bring them into Salesforce and we'll have opportunities, we'll close some deals. But then they become customers. And over the course of their tenure as a customer, they're going to have follow-on business, they're going to have renewals, things like that in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And we may want to look at how are they paying, are they at credit risk, other things like that. So my point with that statement is that sometimes we want to look at the organization as a whole, but the sales analytics are a core component of that. It's really right in the middle. And so what we're going to talk about today is how we can integrate analytics and grow profits, grow revenue, and increase your ability to compete with your competition. And I think those are the 3 things that are on any CEO's mind and they're on any employee's mind, because if you want to be successful in your company has to do all of these things. And I think that's what a lot of us are really focused on, as we go to work every day, is how can we provide the company with the tools it needs to grow profits, grow revenue, and keep companies ahead of the competition. And with Birst, what I'm going to show you is that companies can gain insights to accomplish these goals that are not capable or that are not possible using other tools, that are not possible using simple analytical methods, maybe something like Excel, maybe some other tools out there that look really great, but are they powerful enough to give those true insights that the companies need to optimize their competitive advantage? So we're going to talk about what is business intelligence, why is it important, who is Birst, real quick. I know everybody wants to talk about who they are, so we're going to talk about that real quick, and then we'll move on to the demo and some Q&A. So I'm going to start by talking about Chuck and Sarah. So Chuck and Sarah both have the same background. They grew up in the same neighborhood. They went to the same college. They started with the same job at the same company. They both eat gourmet dinners every night. But Sarah's much more successful both at work and at home than Chuck. Why? Why is Sarah more successful? Well, this is their daily schedule. As you can see, they both go to work at 7 in the morning, but Chuck leaves work at 3 to go to the meat market. Then he goes to the produce market, then he goes to the bakery, then he goes home and preps food. Chuck wants to make his own gourmet dinners, so he takes an incredible amount of time out of his day to do that. Sarah, on the other hand, works for 3 more hours, and at the end of the day, she spent 2 more hours with her family than Chuck did. But they both accomplished the same result. They both had gourmet dinners. And so Sarah just did it a little differently. And as a result, over 20 years, working 3 more hours every day and spending 2 more hours with her family, she's just had a much better life than Chuck has. And it was all about dinner. Okay, so that's a silly example to break the ice, but let's talk about what that means in the sales world. So we've got a VP of sales, and we've got a VP of sales that uses Birst. Well, the VP of sales that doesn't use Birst is a lot like Chuck. Gets in the morning, gathers some data, creates some reports, analyzes them, meets with the team, and they tell him the reports are wrong. Does that ever happen? You ever say this data doesn't make any sense? Okay. So he goes to lunch and he comes back and he says, okay, let's reconcile those data discrepancies. That doesn't make sense. Meet with the team, make some decisions. Well, the guy that uses Birst analyzes the reports, meets with the team, makes decisions, done. Next 5 hours of his day are spent doing productive growth activities. And so they're able to take those reports, make their decisions, and then get on with their lives, focus on strategy, focus on growth, focus on all the things that they're really there for, as opposed to trying to spend all their time gathering and structuring data before it even is ready to be analyzed. So that's kind of my introduction to business analytics. There's some users that prefer to do it all themselves and spend a lot of time on the gathering and structuring activities. And there's some users that may choose a product like Birst that receive the reports they need, make their analysis, and then move on with their lives. So who is Birst? This is real simple. We've got a lot of customers that you guys recognize. Top companies use us: Kellogg's, Johnson's Controls, Citrix, Motorola, and companies all the way down the scale. We've got companies that have as few of 30, 40 employees. And so it's really a solution that could be applied in any situation. And the reason we've been successful is because we looked at what the big business intelligence vendors are doing, IBM, Business Objects, MicroStrategy, is that those guys have really powerful solutions. But there's some other guys out there that have agility, data discovery tools that allow you to quickly analyze your data, quickly be able to slice and dice information and get what you need. But is there a middle ground? Can somebody do both? Yes, they can, and it's called Birst. So what we're going to do now is jump into a demo, and I'm going to show Birst, but you're going to recognize it because it's embedded inside of Salesforce. Hold on, let me refresh this real quick. It worked a second ago. This always works. Whenever you do a presentation, it works the first time when you test it, and then when you actually go live, it doesn't work anymore. Okay, that's looking better. Much better. Okay, cool. So earlier I was talking about some of the things that you can do with Birst that you may not be able to do with other products. And the first thing that we see here is we've got Salesforce.com, but we're talking about revenue. Revenue isn't typically something that people store inside of Salesforce. It's typically stored inside your accounting system, your ERP system. Maybe it's SAP, maybe it's Oracle, maybe it's QuickBooks. I don't know. But what we were able to do is integrate that information with the sales data to provide visibility across the organization. And so how are we doing with regard to revenue, but at the same time, how is our sales pipeline impacting our ability to hit our goals? And so as a sales leader or as a sales rep, you can look at your organization or your individual pipeline and say, okay, well, this quarter, for example, we've got a gap. We've closed $5.5 million worth of business. We forecast another $2 million, but over here we have a $654,000 gap. Well, that's great, but how do I take action based on that? What you can do with Birst is drill down into more levels of detail. So maybe we want to look at just one region of the US. Maybe we want to look at the Southwest US. We click once and everything adjusts. And so we have those same metrics. We've got revenue, we've got our forecast, and we've got our gap, but we've only got it for the Southwest US right now. And so what we're able to do is apply these filters that can slice and dice the data just with a click of the mouse. So you can quickly go from question to question to answer without this big time lag. A lot of times companies will have to go to IT and then say, okay, I want to know why we're failing to hit our targeted revenue numbers. A week later they come back and say, well, the Southwest isn't doing as well as it should. Okay, well that's great. Why? And then that's another week. And then weeks and weeks go on and you finally get an answer, but guess what? By that time, it's too late. And so with Birst, we provide these quick answers to these critical business questions. Another thing people are obviously concerned about using Salesforce is looking at their pipeline. And so we've got a pipeline summary right here. I can click on it, and just by clicking on that chart, we're going to drill across to a page where we have more detail. Apologize, this resolution isn't optimal, but we're going to work with it. So we look at our pipeline, we got our starting point, our new business that's come in, what moved in, won some, lost some, had a lot move out, made some adjustments, and we have our ending pipeline. So one of the things with Birst is that we don't only just take snapshots of our data, but we can also look at it across the time dimension. So a lot of times we want to look at, okay, well, if somebody may be struggling with their pipeline, did they struggle last quarter, did they struggle last year? Or maybe it's a product line, and maybe it's not a person. So we can apply that time analysis to really get a better understanding of why things are happening and what action can we take right now in order to improve our business. So the thing that's scary here is that we've had $15 million worth of business move out. We want to know why. We're going to click, and it's going to drill across to our pipeline detail page, and it's going to show us all the different opportunities that moved out. Well, we don't really care about these suspects. We care about what were we selected and shortlisted. So again, we're going to be able to apply those filters and focus in just on these opportunities. So a lot of times we'll have 1,000 opportunities in a pipeline. Using a tool like this, we're able to say, okay, what are the most critical items for me to look at right now? I only have 2 hours. So where do I want to focus my time? And we do something like this. And then you can drill across into the actual opportunity within your Salesforce account. You can look at it. And if we wanted to, we could apply a lot of other analytics that drew from, like I said, multiple data sources. So which one of these leads that were pushed out came from different sources? Do we typically, if we're using Google AdWords, are leads from Google AdWords not as quick to close as maybe leads from our internal sales team? I don't know, but there's correlations that need to be identified. There's things that need to be discovered, and that's really what we're talking about here. Is how do we go through our data as quickly as possible, ask as many questions, get those answers quickly, and then figure out how do we change our activities on a daily basis to add value to our business.
Question.
Absolutely.
You also did an analysis on the sales reps in a specific region.
Yeah, you're reading my mind. All right, let's go back and let's do that. This guy, did somebody pay you or plant you in the audience? Mike? Okay. By the way, let me introduce, this is Mike Azevedo from Birst. He's sales manager over there, great guy. So if anybody has any questions, you can talk to me, you can talk to Mike. All right, so let's look at that region. So again, earlier we looked at the Southwest. Let's click on the Southwest region right here, and it's going to drill us across to a different page, and it's going to show us all the different sales reps from that Southwest region, just like my friend in the second row over here was talking about. So if we remember, we're failing to hit our forecasted revenue numbers, and Tyrone and Susan are pretty much the only people that are trailing. This Dylan's not quite there. Kurt's actually outperforming. So why would we focus our energy on improving the Southwest team as a whole when we really know that our two problems are Tyrone and Susan as people? But there's also other things we can look at. For example, this geographical map down here. It shows each one of our different opportunities, and we notice we don't have any in New Mexico. You know, there's Santa Fe and Albuquerque aren't the largest cities in the world, but there probably are some opportunities there. So maybe we need to talk to our sales manager about getting a new rep to cover New Mexico, or reallocating some resources. So those are just a couple examples of what you could do in line with your question. Today we're going to focus our energy on Susan, Tyrone, and New Mexico. Those are our quick wins. So
You can drill down per sales rep and see the opportunities and see their info.
yeah, absolutely. So it's not wired up like that right now, but with Birst, if we can drill down through a dimension, you can set custom drill paths. So if you want to go from region to sales rep to opportunity to, you know, whatever you want to do, you can set your hierarchies, you can set your drill paths to be able to navigate through your data however you like. The other thing you can do is you can drill across again. You can say, okay, well, within the Southwest region, let's look at these selected accounts. So we click on selected, and we can cruise over and see this table right here that shows us our selected accounts. Now, this one's not showing up perfect, but that's okay. And we can also do risk scoring. So within Birst, we have the ability to do some predictive modeling. So we basically, based on you know, prior activity, we've been able to score these opportunities and assign a risk level. Is there a high probability they close based on all that we know about them, or is it not so great? So that's another example we can do. So I've been talking for a lot. This has been talking straight through. He interrupted me once. Does anybody have any questions right now? Is there anything more specific that you want to cover on anything that we've shown so far?
How do you say the threshold for when you say the predictive score? Is there a threshold you as a user set, or as a system automatically detect? It has to be some way to. How do you do that?
Yeah, so we have in the back end of our tool, we have an engine that can do that. Yeah.
For the cadence and.
But you can work on that. Yeah. So it's something where you can set thresholds. We can set thresholds.
Mm-hmm. And does it have to be a quantitative value? It could be a subjective thing, like, you know, could be satisfaction. Could be
Exactly.
a Likert scale 1 to 5, or.
Yeah. If you can measure it, you can report on it. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Can you show us the back end so we can see how easy or
Yeah, let's do it.
easier to?
How am I doing on time? I see I've got about 10 minutes left. Am I reading your upside down watch?
Yeah, 720.
7:20. All right, cool. So let's do that. Does anybody else want to see the back end?
Yeah.
Yes?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yes.
F11. There we go. All right. So we'll look at the back end. So obviously the first thing I showed was Birst embedded inside Salesforce. We can embed inside of any HTML application. It takes about 5 minutes to do that. What I'm going to show here is going to be real difficult to read, but it's conceptually we'll walk through it. And I'll change the view a little bit here. All right, so basically what we've done here is we've acquired all of our different data sources. And so these are tables that we're going to upload. So for example, I know that this is order header, this is order line item, this is customers, this is sales reps. So obviously sales reps have, or customers have sales reps, and they have orders, and orders have order line items. And so we build out this relational model, and with Birst, when you load something in there, for example, you load an order header, it knows that order ID is the primary key. So things like it recognizes common traits, common attributes of the tables that are uploaded. And so once we build these relationships, we then click this update button. And this update button transforms this structure into this star schema. And so by transforming it into a star schema, we're able to report across different dimensions, across different hierarchies, and you can then you can pass on the use of Birst to your report designers, your dashboard users, who then are pretty much exclusively point and click, drag and drop type users. And so, sure, if you're pulling in from 6 different data sources, there is some heavy lifting to be done back here. But once everything's set up, once everything's structured, it's transformed into the star schema. The people who are actually using the tool are basically using something that's as easy as Excel. And what I'll do right now is I'll go ahead and just build a report real quick. And I do this stuff all the time. So I'm not a super technical person. Don't have a computer science degree, not a programmer. I'm a business user. And the reason I'm with Birst right now is because I was working as the director of operations at an industrial distribution company, and we were doing some pretty heavy reporting in Excel, and I got to the point and I said, look, every company out here needs this. I'm gonna go figure out how to take what we've done at this company to other companies. Then I ran across Birst, and I said, wow, I never imagined anything could be this great. And so I literally jumped on the bandwagon. So this is not my 4th software sales job, it's my first. And it's not my 4th sales job, it's my first. But I've been in this role where we needed this for our business, and I'll tell you, if I would have had this, if my bosses would have had this, I would not have had a job. That is a fact. They would not have needed me. Well, they might have needed me, but I wouldn't have needed some of my people. Okay, so basically, I don't want to get too technical right here, but I just want to show how easy this is. So I've got all my different items that I've uploaded, and this can be much simpler. We can make these subject areas very custom, and so if your report designers only actually need 5 fields, we can only show them 5 fields. We can call them whatever they like. We have a metadata layer. But what I'm going to do now is just pull a simple report in that shows our revenue. So we're going to pull it over into a pivot control, so people know that's a business user kind of thing. So we'll pull that over. So over the course of our data set here, we did $605 million in revenue. Let's look at it over time. We'll look at it by year. Drag year into our rows. It's not sorted the way we want, so we sort by pointing and clicking. Sort ascending. Make a chart. Did I not click it? Sorry. Oh, there we go. And then if we want to make a chart, we just click on the chart button here. And all of a sudden we have a chart, but it doesn't look as great as we want it to. So we can go to our chart properties. And I don't know what these guys did, but they basically went in there and said, if Cory wanted to make a chart, what are all the things that he'd want? And they put them in here before I even knew Birst existed. So we'll look at grid lines. We'll look at, put the values on the top, and so we can actually see what they are. Do something like that. Maybe we want to make the chart, make it circular. That makes it look a little nicer. Okay, so something like that. So we've created a chart, and that's real simple. I mean, maybe people are saying, well, that's too simplistic. What if we want to do something year over year? So we have custom time series measures. So let's look at year ago revenue. So we'll look at the sum of last year's revenue here. And we've got that down, so it's showing us our, 2009 is showing us the same numbers we have in 2008. Let's add an overlay to this chart, and let's make a line chart that lays on top. And we'll make a spline, because splines look nice. And we'll share our axis with our first layer. Again, I have not written a single line of code yet. And if someone was to ask me a really hard question offline, I'll do the same thing. This is not a trick. This is Birst. Okay, so again, we're just doing a quick demo. This isn't probably something I want to put in production, but we've got our revenue, we've got our year ago revenue, and so we can do something like that. We can lay charts on top of each other. So I was talking to somebody earlier today, they said we have 140 reports in our organization. Ask them a couple more questions. Oh wait, maybe we only have like 30. Because revenue by year, revenue by sales rep, revenue by product. Well, those are great, but there's a lot of other things that we can do in Birst. I don't have time to get into all that today, but basically the gist is that we take all the data from all the different data sources, pull it up into one centralized location where the users can understand what's going on at a high level and then navigate the data until they find those pockets of value and figure out, I've got an extra 3 hours in the day. Maybe I'm this VP of sales that uses Birst, or maybe I'm Sarah that spends time with her family. How am I going to spend that time? Am I going to go through the data and try to make a pivot table, or am I just going to use something like this and focus on growth initiatives? So that's really what we're talking about. Does anybody have any questions? All right.
Are you physically pulling data to the star scheme model, and if so, where does that sit?
Yeah, so we'll physically pull the data from the systems. We've got built-in connectors for ODBC, SQL, Oracle, anything with an API, we can quickly build a connector, and it'll sit. Actually, Mike, you want to answer that question more directly?
Sure. So built-in Salesforce connector, that's who this was Cory was saying. We pull the data in, it goes directly into Birst, and he showed you the tables, right? So once you make those joins, the great thing about Birst is it automatically will create that data model for you. That pinwheel to the right-hand side, that star scheme on the right-hand side, will automatically generate those vacuum dimension tables for you. Once that's done, then we'll automatically create the data warehouse underneath that. So everything is stored in Birst. You can actually deploy Birst in your own data center. So if you wanted to, exactly, and still be presenting everything inside of Salesforce, if that were the desire.
David, you had a question?
That was the same question.
Oh, okay.
Where was the data?
They can be in Birst in our data center, they can be in your data center. Okay.
What is latency?
Really depends on a couple of factors, right? So the query to the database normally is pretty quick. Database engine will take care of that. Your network, bandwidth, speed, that sort of thing. Most companies have pretty solid bandwidth. The thing that I think matters the most is the rendering of the actual chart of graph. So Cory showed you a geographic map, and it had a couple of layers on top of it. It was a geographic map with a heat map and then some individual pinpoints on that map. That's going to take a little bit longer to render than this particular graph that you're looking at here. So the latency is dependent. I hate to answer it that way, but it really depends.
Anybody else?
Does it detect the hierarchies or any auto detection of the hierarchy?
Yeah,
Like location or geos or those kind of things?
Yeah, so
based on the data.
It auto detects the hierarchies, and if you don't like what it tells you, then you can go in and change it. Yeah,
You can create multiple hierarchies.
exactly. Yeah, multiple hierarchies, and you can set your grains across your hierarchies, so you can report on facts and dimensions that are in different
And
hierarchies.
you can set those hierarchies as filters on the report, etc. So it automatically drill throughs and drill across rather than you writing anything.
Oh yeah, no, the hierarchies are set.
Smart enough to
drag and drop
figure
one
out
play.
and
Yeah,
go
no,
to.
there's no coding for the hierarchies. So.
Cool.
All right. Anybody else? All right, well, I guess that's it then. Actually, now let me show my one more slide. So what did we learn today? Sales analytics can't stand on their own. We integrate multiple systems, more power. We grow our profits, grow our revenues, and keep our companies ahead of the competition by really understanding what's really going on across our business, not just in one section. And like I said, I mean, sales is pretty much the most important part, because if you don't have sales, you don't have revenue, you don't have revenue, you don't have a company. But at the same time, being able to analyze it and figuring out where the most effective use of management and employee time is, that's absolutely critical. And Birst can do things that really no other tool out on the market can do. And if anybody wants to talk more offline about, well, I think that so-and-so might be able to do it, please let me know. We can have that conversation. And finally, thank you so much. We're doing a webinar in Salesforce in a couple weeks, so that's the easy link. And that'll take you to the GoToMeeting invite, or you can shoot me an email. And then Mike's passing the paper around. If you guys don't mind, real quick, I like to do this just to kind of see if there's interest, if there's not, because look, I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time. If you don't know anybody that wants to talk to us, just fill it out however you like. No offense taken. So again, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You want your break or you want?